The scent of damp clay and the quiet whir of a potter's wheel were the only constant companions in Clara Vance's small, sun-drenched studio. In her late 20s, with kind, intelligent eyes and hands perpetually stained with earth tones, Clara was a talented but struggling ceramic artist. She sculpted not for fame or fortune, but from a deep-seated belief in the purity of creation, finding solace in the tactile beauty of simple forms. Her heart, soft and trusting, was deeply in love with her fiancé, Mark, and she believed with an almost naive innocence in the strength and fidelity of their connection. Yet beneath her outwardly unassuming demeanor, Clara secretly carried the heavy weight of a past trauma, the loss of her family's beloved ancestral home years ago. It wasn't merely a house. It was a sprawling, historic estate, steeped in generations of family history, lost due to a shady financial deal orchestrated by a ruthless, anonymous corporate entity. That profound loss had shaped her, hardening her aversion to greed and deepening her appreciation for simple beauty and genuine human connection. Her days were a quiet testament to her unwavering belief in love and loyalty. She spent hours meticulously working on her ceramic pieces, each curve and glaze a reflection of her inner peace. Her joys were simple: the perfect shade of blue in a new glaze, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the quiet warmth of Mark's hand in hers. She meticulously created a unique ceramic vase as a wedding gift for Mark, its intricate hand-painted pattern a symbol of their pure, unadorned love, a tangible expression of her deepest hopes for their future. She saw no flaws in Mark, no subtle hints of the superficiality that others might have detected. Her trust in him was absolute, a blind faith that would soon be brutally shattered. Despite her own financial struggles, her studio rent barely covered by commissions, Clara possessed a profound generosity. She learned that a local children's art therapy program, a vital haven for underprivileged youth, was facing a sudden, devastating loss of funding. Without a moment's hesitation and without a word to anyone, Clara quietly spent her meager savings on art supplies, ensuring the program could continue for another month. She then volunteered her limited time, teaching messy, joyful pottery classes, her hands patiently guiding tiny fingers, demonstrating her selfless dedication to art as a tool for healing and resilience. The director of the program, a kind woman named Mrs. Henderson, had looked at Clara with deep gratitude, sensing a kindred spirit. Life, however, often wove subtle threads of mystery into Clara's quiet existence. Her engagement ring, a simple gold band adorned with a single seemingly modest diamond, occasionally caught the light in a peculiar way. A fleeting, almost imperceptible flicker of light, an ethereal rainbow within its depths, hinted at a rare, flawless quality that Mark had always downplayed, claiming it was just a good cut. Clara often had a recurring vivid dream, a beautiful, ornate engagement ring from a past she couldn't quite grasp, tied to a mysterious, almost mythical figure, a guardian or protector from her family's whispered lore. It was a ring unlike any she had seen, yet profoundly familiar. More tangibly, she occasionally received cryptic, unsigned notes in her mailbox. They contained obscure clippings from rare antique jewelry auction listings, always with a subtle handwritten hint that one particular exquisite piece, often adorned with an unfamiliar intricate crest, belonged to her family. She dismissed them as oddities, perhaps from an overzealous antique dealer. She had no idea that these seemingly random clues, these whispers from a forgotten past, were threads in a larger tapestry, woven by an unseen hand, leading her towards a destiny far grander and more complex than her simple dreams had ever allowed her to imagine. The engagement ring on her finger, far from being just a good cut, held a secret that was about to pull her into a storm of betrayal and revelation. The serpent in the sanctuary. The quiet, almost idyllic bubble of Clara's world was about to burst, not with a gentle sigh, but with a venomous hiss. The first insidious crack appeared, not from external pressures, but from within the very heart of her supposed sanctuary, her relationship with Mark. Clara discovered irrefutable evidence of his long-term affair with her younger sister, Sarah. The betrayal was cold, calculated, and utterly devastating. It wasn't a fleeting moment of weakness, but a sustained deception, driven by Mark's ruthless ambition and Sarah's corrosive envy. They were a pair, manipulative and shallow, who secretly despised Clara's simple values, her quiet appreciation for art and genuine connection. The affair, Clara soon realized, was not merely a matter of passion, but of chilling financial calculation. Mark, secretly facing imminent financial ruin from a series of disastrous, failed business ventures, was marrying Clara primarily for access to a small, valuable piece of family land she had inherited years ago, a tranquil, undeveloped plot nestled along the coast. He planned to sell it immediately after the wedding, using the proceeds to pay off his mounting debts. Sarah was not just a co-conspirator in the emotional betrayal. She was deeply complicit in the financial scheme, hoping to secure Mark's wealth and, in her twisted logic, upgrade her own social standing by marrying into his perceived affluence. The antagonists of Clara's story were thus intertwined. Mark, outwardly charming, always ready with a practiced smile but secretly shallow, materialistic, and deeply insecure. And Sarah, Clara's younger sister, beautiful and seemingly supportive, but consumed by a gnawing envy that had always made her compete with Clara, viewing her elder sister's quiet contentment as an affront. Both were motivated by greed, a desperate need for social climbing, and a profound contempt for anything they deemed unambitious. The wedding day arrived, a grand, extravagant affair orchestrated by Mark's ambitious mother, Mrs. Thompson, a woman obsessed with appearances, social status, and a meticulously curated guest list. The air in the opulent church was thick with the scent of lilies and unspoken expectations. Clara, in her pristine white gown, felt a growing unease, a discordant note in the supposed symphony of her happiness. Small moments of unease pricked at her. Mark's impatient glances, Sarah's overly sweet smiles, the subtle dismissive comments from Mrs. Thompson about Clara's modest family background. Yet Clara, blinded by her love and her inherent trust, pushed these doubts aside. The moment of truth arrived with brutal clarity. Clara walked down the aisle, her heart full of naive hope, her eyes fixed on Mark. The sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, illuminating the beautiful tragic scene. She reached the altar, her unique ceramic vase, her symbol of pure love, placed gently on a nearby pedestal. The minister began the solemn vows, his voice a gentle murmur in the hushed church. Then, Mark moved. He stepped forward not towards Clara, but towards Sarah, who stood among the bridesmaids, a triumphant glint in her eyes. The minister paused, a look of confusion on his face. Mark, emboldened by his perceived triumph, by the sheer audacity of his plan, made his public, humiliating declaration. His voice, amplified by the church's acoustics, resonated with chilling clarity. "I cannot do this," Mark announced, his voice devoid of regret, brimming with a cruel satisfaction. He turned, his gaze sweeping over the stunned congregation, then fixed on Clara, his lips twisting into a sneer. "I choose Sarah. Clara is too simple, too unworldly, not ambitious enough for my future. I need someone who understands true potential, someone who isn't afraid to reach for greatness, not cling to quaint, childish dreams." He made a grand, theatrical show of breaking off the engagement, dropping a small, almost imperceptible piece of paper, a pre-written annulment document, onto the altar. The entire scene was a meticulously orchestrated public humiliation designed to shatter Clara, to leave her utterly exposed and heartbroken, and to secure his claim on her land with minimal fuss. Clara stood utterly devastated at the altar, her dreams shattered, her white dress, once a symbol of purity, now a stark testament to her profound betrayal. The guests gasped, some in shock, others in whispered judgment, their polite murmurs turning into a horrified roar. Mark and Sarah, their faces alight with a cruel triumph, flaunted their illicit love, their arms now openly linked, completely oblivious to the extraordinary intervention that was moments away from altering all their fates. Clara's world, built on trust and love, had imploded, leaving her exposed and heartbroken on the most public of stages. This act of profound betrayal was her point of no return. The shattered dream, and a glimpse of the shadow. The grand altar, adorned moments ago with white lilies and the promise of eternal love, was now a desolate stage for Clara's shattered dream. Her pristine white gown, once a symbol of purity, clung to her, a cruel testament to her profound betrayal. The silence that followed Mark's chilling declaration was not merely a lack of sound, but a vacuum of disbelief, broken only by the collective gasp that rippled through the stunned congregation. Guests whispered, some in genuine shock, others in hushed, judgmental tones, their eyes flitting between the devastated bride and the triumphant, cruelly linked figures of Mark and Sarah. Clara stood utterly devastated, her heart ripped open, exposed and bleeding before hundreds of witnesses. Her vision blurred, tears stinging her eyes, but she couldn't move. She was a statue of heartbreak, rooted to the spot. Her unique ceramic wedding vase, a symbol of pure, unadorned love, sat precariously on the altar, its delicate form a mirror to her shattered hopes. Mark and Sarah, oblivious in their cruel triumph, basked in the stunned silence, convinced of their ultimate victory. Amidst the swirling chaos, a beacon of quiet compassion emerged. Clara's elderly, kind-hearted Aunt May, a woman whose gentle spirit belied an iron will, slowly rose from her pew. She moved with a quiet dignity, pushing past bewildered guests, and gently took Clara's trembling hand. Aunt May didn't offer words of comfort. Her presence alone, her warm, firm grip, was a silent gesture of unwavering support, an anchor in Clara's storm of despair. Just as Aunt May offered her silent solace, a new, unexpected presence entered the church. The massive oak doors at the rear, almost imperceptibly, swung inward, revealing a man who seemed to materialize from the shadows. He was tall, impeccably dressed, with an enigmatic aura that commanded immediate attention. This was Julian Sterling, a reclusive billionaire, renowned art connoisseur, and philanthropist. He carried a small, velvet-covered box in his hand, a seemingly innocuous detail. Julian was also, unbeknownst to Clara, the anonymous benefactor of the children's art therapy program she so selflessly supported. He had learned of her quiet generosity through Clara Rodriguez, the shelter director from a previous story, whose grateful words had sparked his initial interest in this unassuming artist. More critically, Julian had been subtly tracking the rare, flawless diamond in Clara's engagement ring for years, recognizing it as part of a famous, stolen collection he had been meticulously trying to recover, a collection that was, in fact, part of Clara's own ancestral family assets, lost decades ago. He was not, at this moment, romantically interested. His primary motive was a profound curiosity about the ring and this woman who unknowingly possessed such a valuable piece of history. As Julian observed the unfolding scene, he moved closer, his keen eyes missing nothing. He overheard Mark, in his moment of cruel triumph, loudly mocking Clara's simple engagement ring. "Look at this trinket," Mark sneered, holding up the ring which Clara, in her shock, had let slip from her finger onto the altar steps. A mere speck compared to what true ambition can acquire. He compared it unfavorably to Sarah's new ostentatious diamond, boasting that Clara's small, worthless diamond was typical of her quaint, unsophisticated taste. Julian, from his discreet distance, saw the unique, almost imperceptible flicker of light, an internal fire, a prism of pure brilliance from the diamond in Clara's abandoned ring. His expert eye immediately recognized it. It was an incredibly rare, flawless gem, a true museum piece from the stolen Vance family collection he had been meticulously tracking for years. He also recognized the unique, subtle design on Clara's own ceramic wedding vase, the one she had meticulously created as a gift for Mark. Its intricate pattern hinted at a hidden, almost mythical family crest of the Vance family, known only to a few scholars of antique jewelry. The vase, a symbol of Clara's simple beauty, was, in fact, a coded reference to her deep ancient lineage. A profound realization dawned on Julian. This simple woman, humiliated at the altar, was not merely an artist. She was connected to the very legacy he sought to restore. The diamond on her finger, far from being worthless, was a key to a stolen heritage. He had no idea of the depths of her personal pain, only her profound, unrecognized value to his quiet quest. He sensed a deeper, unspoken connection to her, a pull that went beyond mere artifacts. Mark and Sarah, completely absorbed in their cruel triumph, continued to revel in their moment of public glory. They were utterly oblivious to Julian Sterling's true identity, unaware of the immense wealth, power, and historical significance he represented, or the extraordinary intervention he was about to orchestrate. They had no idea that the silent, enigmatic stranger now observing them held the keys to not just Clara's vindication, but their own spectacular downfall, the price of innocence. The grand church, now emptied of most of its stunned congregation, felt cold and hollow to Clara. The echoes of Mark's cruel declaration still reverberated, mingling with the whispers of judgment and the triumphant laughter of Mark and Sarah. Clara's dream lay in shattered fragments around her, and with it, her sense of safety. Her focus, however, was violently wrenched from emotional devastation to immediate crisis when Mark, his charm replaced by a desperate, menacing edge, cornered her. His meticulously planned public humiliation had failed to secure the immediate land transfer he needed. "You'll sign it, Clara," Mark snarled, his voice low and menacing, barely audible to Aunt May, who hovered protectively nearby. "That land! Sign it over! Now! Before this little spectacle costs me everything!" He threatened legal action, claiming Clara had somehow defrauded him, a twisted inversion of the truth. Sarah, her eyes gleaming with avarice, stood beside him, publicly supporting his accusations, her voice dripping with false sympathy as she accused Clara of manipulation and trying to cling to a failed engagement to extract more money. They saw her profound heartbreak as a weakness to exploit, a means to further their own desperate agenda. Clara felt utterly broken, caught between the brutal betrayal and the looming threat of public slander and financial ruin. Her inherent aversion to conflict clashed violently with the desperate need to fight for her dignity, for the last vestiges of her family's legacy. The old trauma of losing her ancestral home due to shady financial dealings resurfaced, a chilling reminder of how easily powerful, unscrupulous people could steal what was rightfully hers. She felt cornered, helpless, her world shrinking under the weight of their combined cruelty. Unbeknownst to Mark and Sarah, Julian Sterling had launched his own discreet, meticulous investigation into Clara's past. Having recognized the rare diamond in her abandoned engagement ring and the unique family crest on her ceramic vase, he had activated his network. He uncovered the truth about her family's long-stolen jewelry collection, meticulously detailing the complex corporate fraud that had led to the loss of Clara's ancestral home decades ago. He also learned of her selfless work with the Children's Art Therapy Program, her quiet generosity, and her profound commitment to ethical values. He was deeply impressed by her quiet strength, her resilience in the face of adversity, and her integrity, qualities that resonated deeply with his own family's long-held values. The battlefield for this new showdown was a formal, intimidating legal hearing forced by Mark and Sarah. They had filed an emergency injunction to dispute the land inheritance, framing Clara as a manipulative, vengeful ex-fiancée trying to sabotage Mark's financial future. The courtroom was packed with media, eager for the next installment of the scandalous wedding drama. Clara sat at the defense table, alone, facing their combined cruelty, her lawyer doing his best against the emotional manipulation. She wore a simple, unadorned dress, a stark contrast to Mark's tailored suit and Sarah's dazzling jewels, a silent statement of her unpretentious truth. Mark, with his carefully timed public legal maneuver, had secured a buyer for Clara's inherited land with a strict, non-negotiable deadline. If Clara didn't sign over the deeds by the end of the day, he threatened to drag her name through the mud indefinitely, using his connections to ruin her reputation and ensure she could never escape the public shame. The ticking clock of the land sale added immense pressure, forcing Clara into a corner. A quiet, almost imperceptible exchange occurred during a brief recess. Aunt May, still Clara's steadfast supporter, lingered in the courthouse hallway. She was discreetly approached by a seemingly unassuming man in a dark suit, who was, in fact, Julian Sterling's trusted aide. Aunt May, unknowingly providing a crucial piece of the puzzle, inadvertently mentioned her family's long-lost diamond collection and the decades-old shady deal that had cost them their ancestral home. This inadvertent detail perfectly corroborated Julian's own findings, providing the final, crucial verifying information he needed to solidify his strategy. The pieces were now perfectly aligned for Julian to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight, not as a witness, but as Clara's unforeseen champion, ready to dismantle the conspiracy that threatened to consume her. The heir's return and a shattered conspiracy. The courtroom, a solemn arena of legal theatrics, crackled with a palpable tension. Mark and Sarah, a picture of false sincerity, stood before the judge, meticulously painting Clara as a deceptive, emotionally manipulative figure. Mark, with a flourish of calculated drama, presented the abandoned engagement ring, a cruel prop in his performance. "She even tried to manipulate me with this," he declared, his voice ringing with feigned indignation. "A token of our supposed love, which she then discarded when her true grasping nature was revealed." He insisted Clara had lured him into a false engagement, only to sabotage his business and cling to her family's valuable land, twisting the narrative with insidious lies. Sarah, standing beside him, nodded vehemently, her eyes wide with feigned innocence, lending credence to his every word. Clara, emotionally drained and physically weary, felt herself crumbling under the relentless assault of their fabricated narrative. She clasped her hands, fighting a dizzying wave of despair. Just as Clara's lawyer prepared a final, desperate rebuttal, and the judge's expression hinted at a growing skepticism towards Clara's defense, a powerful, commanding presence entered the courtroom. The doors at the back swung open silently, and Julian Sterling, impeccably dressed, strode in. His arrival commanded immediate attention. Heads turned, whispers rippled through the media row, and even the judge paused, acknowledging his unexpected presence. He didn't sit in the gallery. Instead, he walked directly to the witness stand, his face a mask of calm, unwavering purpose. "Mr. Sterling," the judge stated, her voice tinged with surprise, "we were not expecting you. Do you have business here?" "Your Honor," Julian's voice resonated through the hushed courtroom, clear and authoritative. "I believe I can offer expert testimony relevant to this case, not as a witness for Ms. Vance, but as an expert in art history and the recovery of stolen cultural artifacts." He then calmly, deliberately began to speak. He didn't delve into Mark and Sarah's accusations. Instead, he focused on the diamond in the abandoned engagement ring Mark had so dramatically presented. He explained with chilling precision that the diamond was not merely a good cut or a small, worthless diamond. It was, in fact, an incredibly rare, flawless gem, a historically significant piece from the stolen Vance family collection, a collection that had vanished decades ago in a complex corporate fraud that had also led to the loss of Clara's ancestral home. He detailed the specific, unique cut of the diamond, its historical provenance, presenting irrefutable, authenticated documents, digital scans, and expert analyses. He proved, beyond any doubt, that the diamond was never Mark's to give, but rather a piece of Clara's stolen heritage, a fragment of her family's true legacy. He even displayed magnified images of the unique, subtle Vance family crest etched into the facets of the diamond, a detail only visible under specialized equipment. Mark and Sarah watched, transfixed, their faces contorted in a mixture of disbelief, horror, and incandescent rage. Their carefully constructed lie was unraveling before their eyes, replaced by a truth far more profound and devastating than they could have imagined. Mark's financial desperation, his true motive for the engagement, was laid bare, revealed by the very diamond he had used as a prop. Then came the astonishing climax. Julian turned from the judge, his gaze sweeping over the stunned courtroom, finally settling on Clara, his eyes filled not with pity, but with profound respect and a deep, quiet affection. He reached into the velvet box he carried, revealing a magnificent antique engagement ring. It was the very ring from Clara's recurring dream, adorned with an unmistakable, intricately carved Vance family crest. The diamond within it was not the one Mark had presented, but an even larger, historically significant gem, the true centerpiece of the stolen collection, which Julian had meticulously recovered through years of philanthropic effort. "Clara Vance," Julian said, his voice dropping to a quiet, deeply personal tone that seemed to cut through the stunned silence. "You possess the true wealth, integrity, kindness, and an unshakable soul that has endured betrayal and hardship with grace. This ring, this legacy," he held it out, its facets glittering under the courtroom lights, "belongs to you, not as a symbol of ownership, but of true partnership. My own family has for generations been known as guardians of forgotten legacies, dedicated to restoring not just artifacts, but the truth they represent. The Vance family heritage is one of profound artistry and enduring spirit." He then, in a gesture that stunned everyone, took a knee before her, his gaze unwavering. "Will you marry me, Clara, and help me restore not just forgotten legacies, but true compassion and integrity to this world?" The courtroom erupted. Gasps turned into a thunderous roar of applause and emotional relief. The media was in a frenzy, snapping photos, their headlines writing themselves. Mark and Sarah were utterly stunned, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of utter defeat. Their entire scheme, their every lie, had not only been exposed, but brutally turned against them. The engagement ring, the very symbol of their betrayal, was revealed as stolen property, and Mark's desperate financial state became a matter of very public record. They were condemned not just by the court, but by the overwhelming court of public opinion. The judge, visibly moved by the raw emotion and undeniable evidence, slammed her gavel down. "Case dismissed," she declared, her voice firm. "Furthermore, the court orders an immediate investigation into the acquisition of the diamond presented by Mr. Thompson, and full ownership of Ms. Vance's inherited land and her regained legacy is hereby affirmed." Justice, dramatic and undeniable, had just reclaimed its rightful place. A rebuilt legacy. A love found the immediate aftermath of the courtroom drama sent shockwaves through the city's elite. Mark Thompson and Sarah, stripped bare of their deceit and exposed as common criminals, faced swift and merciless consequences. Criminal charges for fraud and theft were immediately filed against both of them. Their carefully cultivated reputations, built on a foundation of lies, shattered irrevocably. Mark's financial schemes, already teetering on the brink, imploded under the weight of public scrutiny and legal action. His life, once characterized by shallow ambition, descended into a desperate spiral of legal battles, public shame, and utter financial ruin. Sarah, his accomplice, shared his fate, losing everything she had so cruelly sought to gain. For Clara, the path forward, though still emotionally challenging, was now bathed in the clear light of vindication. She felt a profound sense of relief, a healing balm over the raw wounds of betrayal. She accepted Julian Sterling's genuine offer of partnership, not just in marriage, but in his profound philanthropic work. His quiet respect, his unwavering support, and his shared commitment to ethical values offered a stark contrast to Mark's manipulative ambition. Clara immediately began the process of restoring her ancestral land, the very plot Mark had coveted, transforming it into a symbol of her resilience and a testament to her family's enduring heritage. Julian, seeing the deep emotional wounds Clara carried, approached her with a tender vulnerability she hadn't expected from such a powerful man. He confessed the long, quiet quest he had undertaken to restore her family's stolen heritage, explaining his motivations not as a grand romantic gesture, but as a profound act of historical and ethical restoration. He revealed that his own family for generations had acted as guardians of forgotten legacies, quietly watching over families like hers whose heritage had been lost to greed and deceit. He spoke of his respect for her quiet strength, her integrity, and her unwavering spirit. One evening, a week after the trial, Clara and Julian sat in the quiet contemplation of her studio, the scent of clay a comforting presence. Clara, her hands busy shaping a new, intricate vase, finally opened up about her past trauma. The pain of losing her ancestral home, the sense of helplessness that had haunted her for years. Julian listened intently, sharing his own quiet struggles with his reclusive nature, the immense weight of his family's philanthropic responsibility, and the profound loneliness that sometimes accompanied his wealth. Their conversation was raw, honest, a deepening of their bond. Their connection, forged in betrayal and injustice, was now built on shared values, mutual respect, and a burgeoning, profound love. Clara, once heartbroken and discarded, had found not just a partner, but a soulmate who truly understood her, a love born from the ashes of a shattered dream. The ancestral home of the Vance family, once a ghost of a dream, now stood majestic and vibrant, completely restored to its former glory. But it was no longer a private residence. Under Clara and Julian's joint vision, it had been transformed into the Vance Sterling Arts and Heritage Center, a bustling community hub. Its grand halls, once echoing with the silence of a stolen past, now resonated with the joyous sounds of children's laughter, the quiet hum of pottery wheels, and the soulful strumming of guitars. It served as a living museum, celebrating local heritage and offering free art programs for children from all walks of life, a testament to art as a tool for healing and resilience. Clara, now a celebrated ceramic artist in her own right, her work sought after globally, was also a leading figure in cultural heritage restoration. Her hands, once simply shaping clay, now guided major preservation projects, her innate understanding of beauty and history breathing new life into forgotten artifacts. Her marriage to Julian was a true partnership built on mutual respect, shared values, and a profound love that deepened with every shared endeavor. Their joint foundation, the Vance Sterling Heritage Fund, had become a powerful force, funding art therapy initiatives, safeguarding historical sites, and championing ethical wealth management practices worldwide. The Vance Sterling Heritage Fund provided critical grants for struggling artists, particularly those using their craft for healing and social commentary. It also actively supported legal efforts to recover stolen cultural artifacts, a cause deeply personal to both Clara and Julian. Clara personally mentored young artists, her studio at the center always open, her guidance emphasizing art not as a luxury, but as a fundamental tool for resilience, healing, and expression. The story ends on a beautiful, sun-drenched afternoon. Clara and Julian stood in the meticulously restored central hall of the Vance Sterling Arts and Heritage Center. Sunlight streamed through tall, arched windows, illuminating a group of children intently molding clay, their faces alight with creativity. Clara wore her antique engagement ring, the beautiful piece from her recurring dream, its intricate Vance family crest gleaming brightly on her finger, a powerful symbol of a broken lineage reconnected, a stolen dream reclaimed. She gently touched a newly created ceramic piece displayed on a nearby pedestal, a vase depicting a winding tree with deep roots and soaring branches, its trunk intricately carved with the Vance family crest. It was a tangible representation of enduring heritage and resilience, a visual testament to a broken dream rebuilt into a flourishing legacy of love, compassion, and the unbroken thread of history. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming stories.